Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, Craig here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Scott, and he's selling his Amazon Associates business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Scott. How are you doing today?
Very well. How are you doing? Thanks.
I'm doing great, thank you for asking. And I'm looking forward to talking more about your business. But before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of the business. It's an Amazon Associates business in the cryptocurrency niche, created in August 2017. The average monthly revenue for the business is $3,259, and it makes an average of $3,249 net profit each month. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 52194 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, let's have a look at what's included in the sale. We have the domain including all site content and files, an email list of 95 subscribers, and social media accounts for Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. Okay, Scott, now let's hear from you. Can you tell us a little about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, sure. Mine actually goes back pretty far. Back in the late 90s, actually, I had already been programming computers and got into web technologies when the internet was getting going. So been doing that work for quite a long time. Around 1990, I'm guessing 8 or 9, I took a job at a company during the run-up to the tech bubble that burst. And I was mostly doing user interface design, and then I moved into doing some coding, some user experience, and then visual design too. And that ultimately led to me running a team at that company. And then after the bubble burst, I started another agency with a partner, and I ran a group that did strategy, which included search engine optimization. And that really ended up being, since the, early 2000s until now, that was really my focus at the agency. And then I went full-time buying and selling websites about 5 years ago.
Right, okay. And I guess that SEO background naturally led you into this sort of affiliate business model, right?
Yeah, it really did. I think it's interesting. I mean, I love meeting people that do other aspects of online marketing because I am fairly focused. I mean, I used to focus on 2 aspects predominantly, which were, I think organic search is amazing because it's an investment you make once and you can reap the rewards over time for, as opposed to, a one-off, like a pay-per-click. I'm paying for that click and then I got to pay for it again. So I always found organic search to be incredibly interesting. And the other one that I used to be really heavily interested in was social media. And I've really changed my mind. It's more of a personal and being a father and a parent that I really just don't like social media as a medium anymore. So my sites generally now, all of their profits are derived from organic search, usually a little bit of social media, maybe Pinterest or something like that, but predominantly from organic search.
Okay. And how is it that you came with the idea to start this business in particular, or acquire it if you indeed acquired this site?
This one was interesting. I was looking across my portfolio now, which has, I believe, 16 sites in it. And when I look across them, a lot of people I'd say I'm a flipper, but I think I'm more of a seller, if I would really be honest, because I'm a builder and seller. So in general, I seek out niches where I feel like there's an information gap, basically. And that's one of my main tactics. And usually when I find an information gap, it's due to either a love of expertise or somebody really sitting down and taking the time to make something work for a certain demographic. So in the case of this site, there was definitely an information gap in cryptocurrency around product. And the main thing was around it was the people I was speaking to were afraid of it because nobody had really explained things in a very straightforward way. And so when I got into cryptocurrency, just as somebody who's entrepreneurial and found it interesting, I kept running into the same thing. So I kind of went down the path that people I had been talking to did already. And I knew they were right, that this information wasn't out there in a very good way. So I created this site from scratch in 2017, and it's really been relying on the same content since 2017. So even though, much has changed around cryptocurrency, the content of the site has really been tried and true. And I've been a bit, I don't know if lazy is the word, but I kind of sprinkle my time around, what I work on based on my own personal interest is definitely a part of it. And so for this site specifically, really, there's one set of content that's really been carrying the site. And so like I know later at some point we'll probably, and I know in the listing also we've talked about opportunities, and that's definitely, there's a lot of opportunities that have emerged with cryptocurrency since, 2017. So that's going back 4 years and change. I think the site's 3 years and change. So.
Well, just to keep on that trail of thought, what are these growth opportunities that you've identified, I guess, in this niche and with your site in particular?
Yeah, I think if it's okay, I want to mention one thing. I think right now in cryptocurrency in general, it's not even my niche. It also bleeds over into things I would have never considered, like automotive televisions now, a lot of different things. There's a chip shortage, and that chip shortage is driving lack of inventory on a lot of things. It's actually, when you look at the numbers on the listing, that's exactly what the difference is between the beginning of the year and today, is that there's simply no inventory of some of the things that we talk about to purchase. I mean, it's made it very bittersweet, actually, to sell the site, because I sit there and I scratch my chin and I'm like, should I take the listing down and wait for the market to correct because it's still performing pretty well? Or should I go ahead and sell it? So it's definitely a bittersweet sale, probably because I birthed the site. I wrote all the content and brought it to life. But looking at cryptocurrency and what's happening, what I've done, whether it ends up being for me or it ends up being for the new owner of the site, I've started creating some of that content already of the how do we continue to, or in lieu of the situation that's happening right now, how can we also make money other ways? So there's other affiliate products which absolutely are right along the line of the content on the site already. It's just a slightly different angle on it. So I've written, a few different guides which have kind of laid the foundation for those. And I usually let them gain a critical mass of organic traffic, which they're just starting to get. And then when people start emailing me with the contact form and saying, where's part 2? I need to see what's next to make sure I'm comfortable doing this, which is just starting to happen with 2 of the new areas of focus I've taken. So there's different areas that are very similar to the main affiliate revenue driving one. But beyond that, another interesting thing I had done was where I'm looking to go with some of my other efforts in 2022, and I kind of planned out this year, was getting more into educational content that's more structured. So not necessarily, I guess the model on this site, right, is to give away the information, and the trade is the affiliate revenue, basically. So I think in the past, when I was planning out 2021, I really started looking at changing the model of going from giving away the content in exchange for affiliate revenue of click-through, and changing it to creating content that I can create once and charge a small amount of money for. And then that money, because the content doesn't really, it evolves very slowly, I'll be able to capture revenue from that over time. And so for this site, there's a lot of angles to cryptocurrency which aren't handled in any way by the content that generates revenue today that I get questions about all the time. And so I have a lot of stock answers that I cut and paste to people. There's a lot of questions that are asked that, if you went and try to seek out that information, it's pretty hard to come by in a way that you'd feel good about how the person's answering it. And there's a lot of information that I got that I don't think is sound from an investment standpoint, or I'm certainly glad I didn't take action on a lot of the information that I found. So one of the biggest areas that I think for sure is there's so much of a need for, and it's not going to go away, it's going to get larger. There's so much of a need for education around cryptocurrency or outside the bounds of what the site is currently about. So about where do I acquire it? Is there any hardware I should be using to secure it, for example? So there's all sorts of questions that people ask us all the time that we're just giving those answers away. So I think we put up a little blurb on the side of the site and said, hey, if we were start offering informational classes and we're just gathering interest right now, leave your contact information if you're interested. And I think we did a promotion also in the past month, but so that list, I think in the actual seller profile, I think it has something minuscule like 80, and not like this number's high, but I think there's 300 and something people have signed up now that want information on that. So that's probably the biggest area. I will focus on if the site doesn't end up selling. And I think somebody who's comfortable, using one of the WordPress plugins that does courseware would do very well with.
You gave a lot of great information about your insights into the niche and the growth opportunities of the business. So how come is it that you're selling the business right now?
Yeah, it's a good question because I'm a little teetering on that one. But I think the main reason why this isn't the only business I'm selling right now is that I've come up with a software platform in SEO, and I've been testing it, refining it over about, a year and a half or 2 years. And it's really at the point where it definitely works and it's definitely doing what I intended to do, even over Google's recent changes. So it's really time for me to push some chips in and hire a professional developer. I've done most of the development to date, but I need to really push this thing into a different gear and get it out to the public and start selling it. So that's the basic reason, is that I'm selling a few of my sites in the portfolio to gather the money I need so that I can fund the development of that project.
Excellent. And is there anything you've learned from this business that you would apply to that business?
No, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think whether you get positive feedback from working in organic search and your rankings or negative feedback, it definitely would play into this product. But I think what's interesting about the product I've developed is that it's kind of interesting that it almost seems like a blind spot in the industry. And I don't really want to talk too much more about it, but I think, if I did talk about organic search and what I've learned from this website in particular was I really learned the power of in-depth content. And I think, a lot of the way I look at the world and the way I look at online marketing, having done it for so many clients and then, building my own sites and needing them to perform was, sometimes it is really hard to commit to in-depth content. And I mean, very, very in-depth. I think, one of our longest guides, it's a short story. It's not, an 800-word post or a 1,600-word post. It's a pretty, it took some work to get to, make sure that it was all what it needed to be. And it was an investment in making it, but the return is amazing. And I think that was probably the biggest lesson I learned about this site. And, maybe before people were talking about it so much, this site really made it really clear how much depth matters of content, but then breadth across a topic that, you can't put up a website, in my opinion. You can, but for what I was trying to achieve, and I'm blown away that we've been able to hold the positions we've had and then, in fact, improve them by doing a little bit of work at the end of last year with content that was written, 3-4 years ago and changed very little over that time. So those were my biggest lessons on this one, and they were good lessons to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, we get many sellers of affiliate sites who talk about the importance of having in-depth content, quality content that is evergreen and it can still generate results for you even years down the line. And on the flip side of things, so was there anything you tried with this site that didn't work out for you?
Maybe. So I'm an interesting case study in the fact that since I've rejected social media, I just have my own personal view about its value in general. I worked with it very deeply when it first came out with Facebook specifically, and just what it's become and being a father and seeing the effects it has on people and different things. It's pretty interesting. I mean, a lot of the sites I sell, it's just this green field sitting there for somebody that enjoys working with social media. And I think that that's kind of an interesting take and opening. So I can't even say I've really tried it, So I think for this site specifically, there is a profile out there on a couple of different sites, but they haven't been touched in quite some time. I do get traffic from them very sporadically, but so I don't know if it's it's not a failure. It's kind of a deciding to avoid more than a failure. One thing that I did try, and it was always a conflict for me. Again, I'm not a huge fan of ads. I do have sites that revenue off of ads. But again, just with the tracking involved in ad affiliates really become my method of choice for generating revenue. So I had put ads on this site before, early on even. I think I was testing some at the end of 2020 also, I believe, a little bit. But I always end up in the same conundrum, and it would really just take a little bit of time and focus probably to test it out and get it right. But I would just hate to cannibalize affiliate income based on user experience for having ads on the site. And so, if the content or the topic of the site's in a lull, which has happened before, and I think the lull was more self-induced by letting the SEO go a bit. But regardless, I have put ads on the site. But man, as soon as traffic and affiliate starts picking up, that it starts itching my brain of, am I cannibalizing by people showing up and saying, I'd rather go find this content somewhere else than deal with these ads. So I think with any affiliate, you have to do a lot of blocking, thoughtful blocking, if you want to make sure that affiliate link that might pay you, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10%, if somebody's advertising right beside that with the same product and the cost per click isn't really helping you very much. It's just that constant battle. So I think that somebody who wants to be, I know that there's a lot of people that are, I'm a kind of an on or off guy. And there's a lot of people that take a more measured approach and might say like, well, we'll never put ads on these guides, but we'll put them on the rest of the website, where it's not really generating revenue, it's supporting revenue. So I think that those are definitely opportunities. And then obviously, my email list leaves a lot to be desired. So I think email is another area of opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a process of experimenting and iterating, I guess, to grow any business. So as for the day-to-day work, what type of work do you do on this site for maintenance?
As far as maintenance of the site, it's a WordPress site that runs Divi. I'm in a very standard set of plugins that are, I think anybody who runs WordPress sites will know these plugins. So there's the general upkeep that everybody does. Beyond that, until I had written these new pieces of content, which are both half published and 3/4 of the way done, I hadn't been doing much, to be honest with you. I was doing updates of affiliate links. I'd click through some stuff and just see what was going on. And on this site, I'm doing that manually. There's a few new tools I started using recently that will tell you when products are out of stock and that you should check your links. But this site doesn't use those. It absolutely could. So there's that kind of upkeep. Beyond that, though, I do get, it just depends on the audience and what they're doing, but I do get questions from the guides specifically. And I have a lot of those answers are canned responses now that I'll just, I'll change, the name of the person I'm speaking to, and I'll add the intro paragraph to echo their very specific question. But generally, a lot of the questions are, procedural, or I don't understand this step, or you're saying to do A, if I do B, do you know if it'll still work? And a lot of those times I'm honest in saying, well, like it says in the guide, if you aren't doing it the way I'm doing it, I apologize. I'm not withholding information from you. I've never done it that way. So you could try it and let me know if you like, but I really don't know. So I would say maybe, I don't know, some weeks it's nothing, and some weeks it, 30 minutes during the week, and sometimes it's 2.5 hours over the week, which, God, that sounds even extreme. But, some people are reaching out and saying, hey, I was reading this. Is this still up to date? Do you agree does this part still work? I'm on step 4. Like, is that accurate? Because something you're mentioning here, I've seen on a forum somewhere or something I'm not sure about. But so there's questions like that. I think like in general, like for example, in the past 7 days, I've had 2 questions like that were literally yes or no answers. Maybe in January when the site was really hopping, I might have 1 or 2 questions a day or something. But yeah, that's about the work on the site.
Yeah, it sounds like your audience is pretty engaged, and I guess there will be in this niche if there's a lot of information to cover. I'm sure they have a lot of questions that if you can answer, then that's a great way to make income from the affiliate site. So as for the buyer coming into the business, what skills or requirements do you think there are for someone who's not familiar with this niche or business model?
If they're not familiar, I would hope that they don't have to have a laser pinpoint. I don't know, that would be like asking a lot for what the precise content that's making money is. I would think that if you're interested in cryptocurrency at all and like wanting to learn, I think you're going to enjoy the site a lot more, in my opinion. Just, again, one of the things that we all learn doing this kind of work is you can be a business person, or if you're also trying to, if you enjoy learning the topics and see the promise in them, you can take a different type of advantage by finding the opportunities in your own experiences. I think it would be, in my opinion, I think it would obviously make a lot of sense if it was somebody that's at least interested in learning about cryptocurrency. But the other skills that are involved are just basic WordPress and affiliate, skills of understanding, what other products can I find that would, work here, or it doesn't have to be products. There's things like other examples. There's cryptocurrency IRAs right now. as an example. There's a lot of financial products that I haven't touched any of that. So if somebody wanted to go research that, do an interview with somebody who runs, one of these cryptocurrency IRAs, for example, and be an affiliate for that, there's, tons of greenfield like that. So I think you probably do want to have some people skills, which I think a lot of marketers do. So, but you can get by with the site just having basic Amazon affiliate skills and WordPress skills.
Yeah, that all makes a lot of sense. What do you think are the biggest risks with this site that a buyer should be aware of?
I think for me, I've done a lot in cryptocurrency in the past, say 5 or 6 years. Until you settle in with cryptocurrency and understand how wild the swings are, I guess, you might, I think a lot of people, I thought, me specifically thought, way back in, I think there was a pretty big push on crypto when I started this site in 2017, 18, and it was just going through the roof. So I thought, and I had acquired quite a bit of cryptocurrency, and when it started going down and all the traditional media, was saying like, this is it, it's over, it's going to be in a cryptocurrency, I sold quite a bit of it. And I really wish I wouldn't have done that. So I think, the same holds true to the website. I think that, the same systemic things that could prevent the website from performing are the same systemic things that could prevent cryptocurrency from performing. And so I used to really think it was just right around the corner. I was going to open up my computer and find a headline article in the news saying, the US bans cryptocurrency or something like that. And I don't know, it just seems like, for me at least, it seems like now more than ever, it seems like governments and businesses are much more in tune with figuring out how to work with it as opposed to against it. But I do want to mention it is definitely, that's one of the biggest areas that if something catastrophic happens, that's catastrophic. I think the flip side is that if we have another push like we just had, which was crazy, I mean, things going up by 50, 60, 100% in 30 days, if you have a site and you have content and you're actively, have that website and that's happening, there's a lot to be gained. So there's a flip side to this. But I would say the risk profile of it, I used to think it was very high, and now I think it's a very, medium. I really, in 2017, I would have told you this site's doing okay, but it's not going to last. And now I don't believe that anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's certainly good to have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the market and have a bit of understanding of cryptocurrency at least. Well, interesting stuff. Well, overall, about this site, putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying?
Good question. I think, again, I mentioned this is a bittersweet one for me of what I'm selling. And part of it, of course, is because myself, with a little bit of help, wrote all the content and has been, nurturing it all along the way. I would say even with the market conditions in crypto going up and down and some very interesting factors that are not going to last over time, it's just a matter of when they're going to ease up, the revenue's being constrained by that. And it's going to come back. And so when I look at this site, it's really, really bittersweet. So I think there's that aspect of it, is that for those market aspects to be in play right now and the site to still be performing reliably, it makes it harder for me, to say, I should be selling the site. But other things that I would say, the content's been durable. It's, as things change, just maintaining the content that is generating the revenue will continue to work. I think if it sells or if I keep it, I've taken those initial steps to open up 2 other additional affiliate revenue channels. And then I sincerely think that where cryptocurrency is as far as society's understanding of it versus their interest of it, that it really does serve as a good platform for this greenfield content that people are ending up at the site already today and saying, I want to learn about this. Will you teach me? Seen by me putting up a basic form and not marketing it. It's not a pop-up form or anything. It's just sitting in the sidebar for people to sign up and say, if you were, providing information that would help educate people more, we would want it. So I think those are the reasons for me. I think what it could use, in a buyer is somebody that, wants to see something that will be put in their portfolio that perform at the level it is today, or looks at it and sees that wow, this guy doesn't do social media. And I love doing social media. I think somebody who's got a passion for, doing Facebook, Twitter, that kind of stuff can, amplify things doing that alone, not even worrying about net new content. So I think it's a fair sale. I'm happy that it is what it is, but I also see that it's the kind of thing that I look at when I'm buying, and I'm probably being very obvious about where the holes are, because when I'm a buyer, I'm looking for where's the opportunity for me to take this and quickly pour some gasoline on it. And there's a couple of opportunities in this sale.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of depth to this business for sure. So, regarding the sale of this business, would you commit to a non-compete?
Yes, for sure. I totally, every business I buy, I look for that, and every business I sell, I completely understand that.
And how much support are you willing to offer buyers? Are you going for the standard 30 days of email and Skype support?
Yeah, I think I put that in when I created the listing for the site, I put that in, but there's I'm a pretty easygoing person. So if somebody, was a little bit more nervous about it and wanted to find a way that we could a little bit longer, I can do that. It certainly wouldn't be around, in my opinion, buying this site. It's not going to be around, I need help maintaining the site. That's not an issue, really. It's very straightforward. It might be more around, is there something we can do around when people ask these specific questions that you seem to have the answers for? Can you help us with that for a while? And I would be open to something like that. And I'm also open to, as long as it was worth the time, putting together what those canned answers I've already written so many of are for a new buyer so that they have those handy.
Okay. And are you open to negotiating something like an earnout?
With me looking to use the proceeds to fund another business, it would just depend on the terms. I mean, I think just being completely honest, if somebody wants to come to me and say it's 100% earnout or something, there's no way that, it would have to be a significant amount of the purchase would need to be committed to it. Just being open. 50% or more was committed as being paid out, and then earning out, 40% or, whatever that number we could come to agreed to be. Yeah, I would be. But again, yeah, I would be open to talking about it. I don't need to belabor the point.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share that I might have missed?
I don't think so. I think the only other thing that the prospect would need to know is that some of those new content channels that I had started writing around, that content, would be included. I finish what I start. So I'll definitely get, it's only a few pages of content, but what needs to be proofed and published would be a part of the sale too. But beyond that, I'm open to answering any questions or helping anybody understand the business that's curious about it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time, Scott. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate your time too.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 52194. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.